Welcome. Beer Guys Radio. We are live. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, not Instagram. They won't let us do that.
No, or
not
LinkedIn. I don't think parties.
Yeah. But we just realized, guys, we didn't have any beer in our glass, so we're trying to rectify that right now. Ooh. But we have Jake and Evan from Devil's Club Brewing Company in Juneau, Alaska, amazingly enough. So our first brewery out of Alaska.
Yeah,
it is. So this is fun. I'm excited. We're going to pester. We'll try and let them talk about the brewery some, because don't just pester them about Alaska beer in general, Brian.
No, I'm going to.
I'm going to.
Yeah, see, you're going. Yeah, Smalls. And Smalls is in the studio, y'all.
Hooray.
For those, it's been a minute.
Right? Minute plus.
A minute
and a half.
A minute.
At least.
But but we're going to do this. Evan, Jake, we're going to get rolling. We'll do a proper intro here in just a second for those watching the live stream. And we'll be back with you very, very soon.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yeah, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios. And this week, we are talking with Devil's Club Brewing Company. I'm Tim Dennis, and I don't even care about Brian Hewitt this week.
Why?
Because we've got Smalls in the studio with us. Becky Smalls in the studio. As we said, it's been a minute. But it's good. She came back bearing whiskey.
Yes.
And unlabeled beers.
That's really good whiskey. I've already sampled it.
It is, yes. But Smalls, good to see you.
Good to see all of you. I had to beg for your forgiveness for my absence.
Liquor and beer does that.
Completely forgiven.
Yeah.
Brian? You can disappear again for a while and then come back with more.
Yeah. Yes.
So, Tim, we are joined by co-founders and operators of Devil's Club, Evan Wood and Jake Riddle. We're going to talk about craft beer in Alaska and a fair amount about Juneau itself. We'll geek out about Alaska because
we have to learn.
From Alaska.
You are ambassadors of Alaska beer today.
Oh, no.
Is that okay for you?
You represent Alaska.
Good. Yeah, we'll learn a lot. It's going to be a good time for sure. Guys, what's in your glass today? What are you currently drinking, Evan?
I'm gonna be caught. I'm drinking water right now.
Okay, you gotta hydrate, man. You gotta hydrate.
Well, I'm on a detox. I've had a long month. Jake and I were actually just over in Europe, sampling the many delicious beverages, and it's time to take a break.
That's good. You know what? Not enough folks in beer understand that. We have to admit that our industry may harbor a few functional alcoholics.
Yeah, it may.
We have to admit that, but taking a break is good. And Jake, how about you, man? You got a beer this evening?
I'm not detoxing.
Okay, good.
Our Disc Dog Pilsner.
Awesome.
Disc Dog
Good stuff,
Pilsner.
man.
Nice.
Good stuff. We realized just as we went on that we didn't have a beer in the glass, so we just corrected that. A local brew here. We're enjoying one of our newer breweries in Georgia, Inner Voice, down in Decatur, Georgia. But we have Citra, which of course is made with Mosaic hops. That's so
of course, as you would expect.
We enjoyed this one at the brewery this weekend, Brian, and it was good. So we had to bring some back with us. But Evan, you mentioned a little detox in that. We have explored the world of non-alcoholic beers and there's some tasty stuff out there now. And Athletic Brewing is a favorite.
Yes, they are.
So we get to enjoy those. Nate he wasn't playing with dry January because he doesn't roll with the flow there, but he did dry February. So he just drank when he was in studio, he'd have a different non-alcoholic beer. And it's kind of cool that we're at a point to where you can go a whole month drinking a couple days a week and have a different decent NA beer.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety to the point where you're not going to get bored, at least not in the space of a month, maybe 6 months, but they're rolling out with new stuff all the time. So it won't even be boring for very long, even if you stick with that.
Exactly. So. Now, all the ones he had tons of THC in them.
Oh, yeah.
No alcohol.
He was
absolutely flying the entire time.
That's right.
Yes.
is Alaska a legal state? I don't remember. I think you guys are marijuana legal up there, recreational. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I thought you were one up there
for quite a while, which is a common confusion based on our branding as to what we do, but it's Devil's Club leaf.
Devil's Club, Devil's Weed.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't have even thought that. I'm like, I saw the leaf, but I never made that jump. But I guess if you're really high, you see that, you're like, oh, they're cool.
You always see, I've even had people say, is that a pot leaf? Our logo has the hop cone in it. I'm like, it doesn't even remotely look like one.
It's not even close.
That's exactly the problem we have in the tap room as well. Yeah.
See, everybody wants to, they see what they want to see.
It's like, have you guys even ever seen the plant before? What are you doing?
No, not at all. So this time of the year in Alaska, how is the weather there? Do you guys get nice? Is it 98 degrees like it was in Atlanta recently?
Not quite.
Yeah.
No. It's actually been a really nice summer for us, which means not a lot of rain. The state it's difficult to make statements about the state as a whole because it's massive, so can't say anything about, but where we are in Southeast Alaska, which is basically northwest, so if you just keep going up through British Columbia, you'll eventually hit us. It's a rainforest, so it rains a lot, and so for us a nice summer is like mostly not rainy days, and 70 is really hot for us. 80 is like unheard of, and we had about a week and a half of 80, so
okay, we've had about a week of 80 to 83, and we're like, oh, good, a cold snap.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's nice, but yeah, we talked a little bit before the show about just kind of the scale of Alaska and how far you travel going. 20 hours, you said, Smalls?
Yeah, because I'm going to Anchorage in November. I was like, let me just see what the distance is between the two. I was like, oh, it's 20 hours. This is like Texas.
Right.
It takes forever to get anywhere.
I forgot there's the little trailing down side on the, it's on the West Coast, but it's on the east side of Alaska. So if you get down towards the end of that, man, there's a lot of distance to travel. And the globes distort the size of, I think, does it make things larger or smaller? When you flatten out things on a map. Yeah. Anyway, I've gone too far.
It's dangerous territory.
Too far. It's a big place, is all I'm getting to.
Yes. That is a correct statement.
Yes, correct. So, Tim, I think it's time for us to get into the beers of the week.
Brian, this is going to shock you, but as always, we have a great list of beers to get into. We want to thank our friends at The Nest for always sponsoring this segment. Craft beer, barbecue, Kennesaw, Georgia, smoked wings, ribs. Those ribs are stellar. I'm ready to go back for some more good sides too. But if you find yourself in the area, you definitely need to check out The Nest in Kennesaw, Georgia. As we mentioned, we're drinking a little local here. Inner Voice, Citra. We have from Lost Calls a Few Good Mangoes, which is a mead actually. Smalls, you brought that one in, right?
Yes, they're turned into one of my favorite meaderies. Every time I go to San Diego, I always stop by.
In San Diego. Cool. I'll be in San Diego a month and a half-ish, though. So maybe I'll have to put them on the list there. From Cross Strain, we really enjoyed when we had them on the show. We didn't get to this beer, a mixed fermentation sour. I think they just call it mixed ferm sour. But it is a red wine barrel-aged mixed fermentation sour beer. And Delirium Argentum that we stole.
That we did.
From our old producer, Zach. He left it in the studio, so it's a fair stealing here.
Yeah, after there's a statute of limitations, if you leave something for long enough, doesn't it sort of become yours?
That's it. Absolutely. And pretty much if you leave the door and leave it in our fridge, that's the limitation. But Delirium Argentum 25, hope I'm saying that correct. And I know we did some Googling to find the release date, and I see you did add 2014 here. Brian.
Correct. If I noticed after looking at Untapped that if you look at the top of the bottle on the label, it says the year.
Okay. So you did get
handy
that
2014. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Brian, that's our beer list that we're going to do our best to make it through this week. You got some craft beer news to share with us?
I do. I have a little bit. So my favorite news item of the week is New Belgium has announced they're opening a beer-themed water park in Napa, California, called Voodoo Ranger IPA Action Park, complete with a roller coaster made from reclaimed beer barrels, 25,000 watt concert stage, a wave pool filled with 130,000 gallons of hazy IPA. And the people in Napa are understandably freaking out about it, even going so far as to stage demonstrations opposing it in downtown Napa. But here's the thing, it apparently isn't real. The theme park website is, and the promotion on social media by New Belgium is completely real, and they're still doing it apparently. But no application to open a park has been filed with the county's planning commissioner, and no plans for where they're going to come up with all the water that would go into a water park. None of that's been laid out. So this is either epic trolling or some sort of guerrilla marketing. And I actually kind of wonder if this was inspired by Treehouse buying a country club. A little bit of a riff off of that, maybe.
No, were there legit protests on this?
Oh yeah. Now that could be part of the guerrilla marketing, though. That's the thing I also speculated about. Like,
because the folks in Napa need to lay off the wine if they hear about a pool filled with beer, and they're like, "Oh, we will not stand for this."
Hazy IPA, 130,000 gallons of hazy IPA.
Nobody's gonna waste their hazies on a pool.
How do you keep that clean?
How do you keep it clean and like you're gonna have to shower off afterwards? You're gonna be an absolute mess. You're
gonna turn through the filtration system, and you wouldn't have a hazy pool anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would be a West Coast IPA too.
It would be.
It'd be
maybe that's the fun. You jump into a hazy, and it becomes West Coast.
You're like, oh, but all the fruit's gone.
Yeah, Evan, Jake, are you guys holding? Ready to launch one in Alaska, your own amusement park?
We would love to do. I mean, we have the tap room. It's basically the same thing, you know. That's
right.
It's just a smaller scale.
That's it, man. There's
tiny
an amusement
little
park
pools of hazy IPA
in every tap room. It's inside.
But is it a wave? Is it a wave pool? Oh,
it's
each glass is a wave pool.
Yeah, you've talked long enough. I'm done talking to you, Brian. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We need to take a break, and we will be right back with more from Devil's Club Brewing Company. I always love hearing these things about like protest.
Yeah.
We're going to build it out of recycled kegs. There's going to be this
130,000 gallons of beer is going to be the wave pool. If you read it, how does anybody take it seriously? They interviewed the article I was reading. They interviewed some people, and some said, "Oh yeah, there's no way." But other people said, "Well, you know, I looked at it and it seemed real enough to me." I'm like, "Are you sure?"
No, you've got to put so much chlorine and the chemicals and everything else. Like
that will not be a delicious IPA with all the chlorine.
No.
Is chlorine a brewing salt? You guys can answer. Is chlorine a brewing salt?
Actually, hazies have a really high concentration of chloride, which is
there you go.
Oh.
Maybe it
now
is
I'm
real.
intrigued. Okay, now I gotta
Maybe
go
we can.
science.
Maybe we can wade in beer then.
That's it.
All right.
We don't know until we try. Basically,
exactly.
Let's get
right.
a kiddie pool. Let's try this out.
We are at a brewery. We could see how much. I wonder how much beer they would give us for a kiddie pool.
Stephen Pete here, Kettle Rock Brewing. He's bringing the jokes with him. He is bringing the jokes.
Is it hot in Devil's Club Brewing?
80 degrees.
Yeah, that's what we've learned.
It's actually really hot because we don't have air conditioning in the whole state, and when the heat wave comes through, it's like 90 degrees in our tap room.
What?
Okay.
Yes,
it does get hot.
Unbearably hot. The fridges were breaking. It was all falling apart.
Oh wow.
I can see. I mean, if you're not used to those temperatures, like I heard one time in Europe, they're like, there's a heat wave that's 12 people have died.
Yeah.
And they're like, temperatures have been approaching 84 degrees. And I'm like, what? But I mean, if your whole climate, your whole continent is not set up for that, then
so everybody lives in small stone boxes with no ventilation. It immediately goes to 150 in each one of them. Like,
yeah. Then I talked to a friend of mine in is it still called Delhi? He's in India. And he's like, we're having a heat wave this week. I'm like, oh my, how hot is it? And he gives it a temp in Celsius. I convert it 120 degrees.
Oh,
yeah. Is that dry heat or?
I'm not sure.
Does it matter?
Does it matter?
It does matter because everybody says like Vegas, like, oh, it's XYZ because it's dry heat. And I'm like, I don't know. In Georgia, it's pretty hot.
It's like getting sandblasted with hot air.
I mean,
though.
both stink, but
I said to someone from Arizona one time talking about the temperature. I was like, but it's a dry heat. They're like, yeah, so is an oven. I'm like, fair.
Touche.
Fair.
That's a good point. You know what? The ovens in Georgia in the middle of summer, are they really dry heat or is that just a really hot heat or really hot, wet heat? Something like that.
I don't know. Yeah. I tried baking last week and it was challenging because of the humidity.
Too hot.
Yeah.
Just,
well, not even the hot,
just keeping the baking going. Gotcha. Yeah.
All right.
Bill Boyer bringing facts. Hops in the Sun. Skunky beer.
Oh, that's a very skunky wave pool.
It is. Yes. Yeah. A skunked hazy IPA wave pool.
Oh, that would smell terrible.
And
It'll be fun,
just
man.
full of
It'll be
bodies,
fun.
like people.
Oh, then
I hate this. The more we talk about it, the more I hate this.
This beer is full of people.
Guys, just stick with the tap room. We've decided the amusement park is a terrible
Please
idea.
don't do it. Please
I did once swim in a pool of wine. So
Okay.
the
I'll give it a
concept
shot.
exists. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Was it red or
enjoyable.
white?
It was
See?
red. There was a slide that went into it. It was a small pool. And then there were tokens at the bottom that you could get. If you got them, you could get prizes. And so you swim down and you open your eyes, and it's just the
In
worst
wine.
thing you
Oh
can
my
imagine.
gosh.
Yeah.
This and the prize is a would you share what you're saying, because I can't read you right?
Jake, I noticed that your input changed during the last segment. Are you on your phone now, or are you on laptop still?
I'm on my laptop.
Okay.
Because you had switched video feeds mid-segment.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm on an old MacBook Pro.
In an old bathroom.
An abandoned bathroom. Was that an abandoned MacBook Pro that you found in the bathroom?
Was there a question, Nate, about that, or
I was just curious because it seemed like the ambient noise got louder.
it did?
Yeah,
I did notice that. So yeah. Did you change to a? I think it broke up right as I was saying. That. Let's see. So that's muted.
Yep, unmuted.
And that's. I think you know what? That actually sounds better. Maybe it was just so our software does like echo cancellation of the background noise and that. And it may have just not picked up the ambient noise at first, because that sounds better.
Yeah, that does sound better.
It's better now.
So whatever button you press, that was the one, Jake. That was the one. So I think we're good.
It's either that.
Now.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
better.
Yes.
I was getting
Yeah.
a very breezy sound. It felt
Yeah.
cool on my ears. you know.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, Bill Boyer, we've got to have him back soon, Brian. We had to. It's like the guest that's in the green room at I was about to say the Johnny Carson show, which would show my age. Who is even hosting that now?
Spoiler: Tim is old.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't watched. That's even watching late night shows is like an old man thing.
I was
going
to say like Johnny Carson and David Letterman.
Yeah,
but,
they're both out of it.
I don't
Even
even think Conan is doing it anymore.
He still does. He's still like on TNT or something.
Fallon.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Fallon.
Kimmel's,
I think, is the big head honcho. I think of.
But anyhow,
of
he was in the studio, but it was kind of the green room bump. We ended up talking about too much other stuff, so we'll have to have him back on to talk about more homebrew.
I'm just trying to think of who the dude was with the chin that sounded like me.
What in the world are you talking about?
There we go. The guy with the chin.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Good stuff. Awesome. Well, let's get back in this so we can talk some Devil's Club here.
All righty.
Guys, ready? Ready to rock and roll again here?
Ready to go.
Let's do it.
We know as much as we'll ever know about it.
Yes. Right.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Next Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day. So, if you want to, go ahead and wear a Hawaiian shirt and jeans.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Remember, all episodes are available on demand. So if you missed the broadcast, get the podcast. Beer Guys Radio is available on the Podcast Park and all popular and unpopular podcasting apps. Now let's get back to Devil's Club Brewing Company.
Evan, Jake, thanks again. We appreciate you chatting with us. We are ready to learn all about Devil's Club Brewing Company. So we're going to start with the hopefully simple questions. Evan, how did Devil's Club Brewing come to be?
So hopefully it's simple.
Is it a simple?
Yeah, it's never that simple.
Right.
Mostly we just didn't really have much going on in life. And we really liked beer. And we were home brewing at the time. And Jake, I, and our third business partner who started the business with us, Ryan, all three knew each other from high school in the town here and just kind of got the ball rolling, kind of chased the beer dream.
Okay. We've talked to a lot of breweries in other areas and about the difficulty in opening. How is it in Alaska? How hard is it to open a brewery there?
It's probably the worst place on earth to open a brewery, to be perfectly frank.
Right.
a few different factors. The shipping costs are really bad.
Gotcha.
So it's very expensive to get our raw materials. But the other thing is that our laws are the worst in the country.
Oh, wow.
So we're very, very limited on what we're even able to do.
I see. I figured, just making assumptions, I thought Alaska would be kind of cool, like
I would have thought so too.
Make your brewery, make your beer, man, do your thing.
Because they were talking about they were a legal marijuana state. So if they're cool with that, they got to be cool with beer. Apparently not.
Maybe the weed lobby
I thought
is.
something just recently changed in the laws to make it tougher. I could be wrong though. I thought I saw
it.
something.
Actually, we just worked on passing some laws that will make it better.
Oh, good.
So that's good news. We have to close our tap room at 8 p.m. That got bumped back to 9 p.m. and it'll take effect in 2 years.
Oh, you gotta wait 2 years, do you? Wow. Okay. What's the reasoning there? They just don't want people out drunk late?
Yeah, it's a long, convoluted, uninteresting anecdote, but the main thing is that there's public health concerns in Alaska for alcoholism. We have a really, really bad rates of alcoholism. And so to curb that, there's a limited entry system for licenses. So you can only have a certain number of bars, a certain number of restaurants, a certain number of breweries in every town. And a brewery, therefore, is not a bar. And so the rules are different for us.
Okay.
It doesn't make any sense. There's no logic to it, but that's
of course, as beer laws go, man, that's kind of the way it goes. Was any of the decision impacted by drunken fights with moose or polar bears?
Mostly grizzly bears. They're bad drunks.
Okay.
Wait a minute. How do grizzlies have any money? You know what? Maybe we don't need to ask that. Yeah, it probably doesn't matter.
You let Alaska do Alaska, Brian.
Not gonna. I don't want to narc on the bears.
Yeah. So Jake, did I see you guys were kind of scattered around and kind of came back to Juneau to do your thing?
Yeah, that's right. We all went and did our own thing and collectively ended up back in Juneau roughly around the same time. With the same interest.
Beer.
Alaska is behind what's happening down south in the lower 48. So by traveling around, we could have a little bit of eye into the future for Alaska. So.
Okay, cool. What is, you talked about, kind of being a little behind the lower 48 and that. What styles are great? You mentioned you're drinking a Pilsner, which is super cool here in Georgia and other areas right now. I've heard some other places have not quite got on the Pilsner train, but what are the popular styles there where you are?
Not really Pilsner.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
really. Okay.
No, not
stouts
really.
And barley wines.
Yeah, actually, so barley wine is huge in Alaska. We have a barley wine festival every year up in Anchorage. Yeah. And then stouts are also very popular, but not as popular as IPAs. Nothing beats the IPA nowadays.
Yeah, that's kind of universal. Wherever you are, man, IPAs is still going.
So you don't have a lot of lighter beer drinkers. I guess maybe it makes sense, it being the climate that it is up there. I always think of places, if they're a little bit behind in craft beer, it's like, oh yeah, they're probably drinking all of the lighter macro beers, but barley wines, unexpected.
Yeah, macro beers are still very popular for sure, but craft Pilsner is not really taken off in huge form yet.
Okay.
Like we see down south anyway. And then some other popular styles. The high alcohol beers are very popular in Alaska. I can see that. Yeah. If we have a high ABV on the board, it usually is selling the best.
Do you have an ABV cap on what you can brew there?
Nope.
Okay. See, we got a 14% cap here in Georgia.
Oh, really?
So we can. Yeah.
I think that's okay. You can work within that.
You know what? I guess it's one of those things you always want, kind of what you can't have. For example, Avery Brewing does some phenomenal beers in the 17 to 18% range, and I would love to be able to get those here. And but I will say, guys, we have a lot of beers that our brewers are so skilled, they are 13.999%. So
there's some more nines.
We got some skills here.
Exactly. I'm just surprised by that. You have to close by 8 o'clock, but if you want to make a 20% beer and serve it in the tap room in 16-ounce shaker pints, you absolutely could get away with
rock and roll.
Again, no logic. It doesn't make sense.
None of it, right?
What's the highest ABV thing you've brewed, since you've got the sky's the limit there?
I
13.5.
Yeah, 13.5. Actually, it's that beer right there.
Nice.
That was I actually just got married this past June. That's why me and Jake were in Europe. My wife is from the Netherlands, so we had the wedding over there.
Awesome.
And we brewed a Belgian champagne beer. So it's like a crystal clear, highly carbonated, 13.5% corked beer I brewed it for the opening toast to get the wedding off on the right foot.
I did have a question about that. Is that that's your newest or most recent beer that you've brewed? New one?
It's not quite the most recent. Jake is doing most of the brewing nowadays, and he's brewing a new beer like weekly. So it's been a couple of months. There's been 8 more beer releases since then, probably. But it's one of the most recent ones.
I was going to say, if they brewed it for a wedding in June and it's a cork cage bottle, it's probably not their most recent.
Well, I was basing my stuff off of Untapped. I'm not sure how much Untapped users you get through there, but that seemed to be the most recent one. And it was a very interesting style, like a champagne-like Belgian, Tim.
That sounds like my jam. Like I'm totally on board for that, right?
Super nice. They're super refreshing. The only other beer I've had in the kind of what I based it off of was a beer called Deuce from Brouwerij Bostales, who they also brew Carmelite Triple.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Belgian beer. Mm-hmm. And so they do a corked champagne kind of style Belgian beer, and I was just like, whoa, this is you just never rarely get a beer so high in alcohol that's also so crisp and refreshing and clear. Usually they're skidding towards the sweet and the dark, but it's a really cool style.
Those are dangerous, man.
Oh, yeah.
When you drink something and you can't tell that ABV's in there. Just sit there and enjoy them. You'd mentioned ingredients a little earlier. So we saw you guys are founder and operator. Do you both brew? Who all is
Jake's your guy now.
Brewer, the brew master?
Brewmaster extraordinaire, Jake.
Yes.
I would not call myself a brewmaster. I appreciate that. I don't have the years of European experience or education that it probably takes to become a traditional brewmaster, but we do a lot of experimenting in our brewery and have learned a lot over the years. But yeah, I'm in charge of all the brewing and brewing operations, and we have another brewer downstairs, and let him roam free and do anything you'd like to do in the beer world.
That's what it's all about, man. Yeah. Now, Evan had mentioned like the cost of ingredients, getting them to Alaska and such. Do you have much native ingredients that you can use there? Are there cool stuff? Is there cool stuff in Alaska that maybe we're not getting down here?
You can get a lot of fresh berries in the late summer, early fall, which we do from time to time. We try to do a spontaneous wild fermentation from the ingredients from the east, the natural flora. We try to do that one every year or so.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I love that. I think I saw a really cool video. You guys have some really fun videos on your website.
Yeah.
So there was a dude backflipping into the water and all kinds of stuff. So.
Oh yeah, something about jumping off the dock. Yeah, I thought he really should drink that before he hits the water, and I don't think he succeeded.
No.
I'm like, oh, now there's salt water all in it.
He'll just get another one.
It might as well be a wave pool, Tim.
Brian looked at it as a horror film. I had fun with it, but he was.
Yeah.
Brian
it's like,
was
no, look at that beer.
He was a broken man.
The beer.
We're going to take a break and let Brian compose himself. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We'll be right back with more from Devil's Club Brewing Company.
This mead is quite thick.
I haven't got to the.
Yeah,
I was surprised you didn't get into it after.
Here.
I don't know if you saw me pouring it, but I'm like,
oh gosh, guys, I don't know about.
I gave her a look when I was pouring it. I'm like,
they're
this
not
really?
all like this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is this one's different.
Viscous?
Like viscous. That's the word I was going to use.
Yeah,
like thick is
different.
one thing. This is viscous.
Pulpy. It's pulpy, I think.
Well, you know how you
Honey
get
pulp.
some.
Yeah.
Didn't forget to ferment it.
Well, does it taste good? I haven't got into
Yeah,
it.
it's
like
good.
It's like a mango banana smoothie.
Okay, so is that just fruit?
It's
literally
basically
in there?
Yeah,
smoothie,
this
but
one.
it's a mead.
And that's why I brought it, because I thought it was so interesting that it was a mead, because you always see the things like variant or whatnot.
I wasn't even thinking about
That's
it being a
super
mead,
tasty.
but yeah. And you know what? Indistinguishable from some of the heavily fruited smoothie beers out there.
Yeah.
It has the same thickness because you get all that fruit.
Let's see. Can I get a zoom here, Nate? I'm
See if
going to
you get
see
it.
I don't know how much you can tell the pour here.
Zoom in on that
let's
thickness.
When you get this one at the meadery, they're like,
see
you
the
have to
way
give
it's
us
filling the
time to
glass,
can this
so-
for you.
Yeah. Thicker than pancake syrup. Seriously, I would say that. Yeah, exactly.
That was so intriguing to me. I'm like, this is not like a typical meat.
It tastes really good.
I don't know if you can even see that, but
and
it's
the
like
other one I brought is
sediment
not
on
like
the
this. The
side
other one's
there.
like a traditional type meat.
Yeah. But look at that. We talk.
Looks
like it's got legs.
Yeah, no flavor in there. That's fruit.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know how you get like a big thick stout or barley wine that it'll have that viscousness that kind of you'll paint the glass a little bit. This is like putting 3 layers of paint on the glass.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Like if you take your paint and then add puree to it, it's mango puree, and then you paint with it.
Like you could have this for breakfast, and you got at least 3 servings of your fruits and veggies there.
Probably.
Exactly.
Right.
And a little kick to your day.
Hold on.
Exactly.
Is this salad? I think this is salad.
My smoothie is what are we ABV in here?
Yeah,
I think it was at 8%.
Okay.
Is it only 8? Okay.
But that was
7.2, something along
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a session beer
That's
in
a
Alaska.
session. Yeah.
In Alaska, they're like, give me the good stuff.
I was
For
like,
mead,
that's a
it's
good
definitely
start to your
session,
day.
Yeah.
Session mead.
I
If
mean,
a
it's
bear
session
walks-
meat at my house, but yeah.
Yeah. There's your answer, Brian. Talking about bears in the brewery. They're like, they don't have money, they don't have to pay. He's a bear.
That's true. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Don't bother wrapping it up. It's for a bear.
That's right.
So Mitch Hedberg reference. Wow.
Sticks to your liver. Yes, that sounds about right. I'm
Going
not
through
sure if
the
he's talking
system
about
slowly.
if he's talking about the ribs or if he's talking about the meat.
Bear.
The
drunken
bear. The
Stick
bear
it right to your liver.
Sticks to your liver.
Yeah.
All right.
So Jake, you're drinking Pilsner. I take it you are, even if Alaska's not sold on them, you're a fan, huh?
Yeah, I like Pilsners, light beers. It depends on what I'm feeling. Sometimes big, strong, hoppy beers can make me a little sleepy, but just good old-fashioned Pilsner is just got to stay hydrated,
Yes, I do. I like. We've got a few places here that do drinking beers.
We do,
and it's nice when you go out. We always get asked questions after we drink a beer. What are your tasting notes? What do you think of this? Sometimes I really enjoy just sitting around with friends drinking a beer, and all I think is this is a really good beer. Like I don't put anything thought beyond that. And like you said, Jake, I can go down and I can have 3 or 4 while sitting around for a few hours talking with friends. I can do that with barley wine. I just become belligerent.
Yeah. Yes.
So.
That's when we need to play cards.
Oh,
That's
yes.
the time.
Yeah.
You know, I was one of the things
Thank
when
you,
we were
sir.
talking about the kind of beers that are popular there. I was noticing your tap list in Untapped. So whatever that's good for, really. A lot of Belgians. Are Belgian styles also pretty popular over there?
No.
No. Okay.
Fair.
Again,
Fair.
we just like making the beers that we like, though.
Okay.
So we're
All right.
brewing Pilsners and Belgians. But
Okay.
yeah, no, Jake and I both
Can you have a
kind of
little
fell in
Lindsay
love with
Ritz?
beer in Europe and specifically Belgium.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
In Belgium with Belgian styles, and so that was kind of our first love, if you will, in the like craft beer ish. They don't call it craft over there; it's just beer, but it's
Just
all
beer.
really good.
Yeah.
And so we're just infatuated with those styles and the history of the region, and so we try to imitate and do those styles as well, because they're so good.
Oh, I agree with you. I enjoy very much a good quad, a strong
Gracias.
golden as well. Both of those are fantastic. Just it's good
Yeah.
stuff. So, yeah, I was just because at a certain point in craft beer, Belgians were kind of a big deal, and a lot of breweries that around here opened up with the intent of like, well, we're going to focus on Belgian styles.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't last. So
Yeah.
they're all out there making some crispy boys and some IPAs now. But
Well, I think
at one point in time, it was
Sure.
that was hot, and I still like it. I kind of miss those days a little bit.
just using Georgia for example, we got talking about the ABV cap. I think it was 06, Brian. Am I right?
I think so. The cap was raised.
We were 6% was our cap here until
really
2006 or something. So
until 2006. Wow.
Yep, it was
Holy
crazy.
Cow.
So, for a while there, we didn't get a lot real crafty because, like you said, 14%, you got a decent area to work with there. 6%, you do have a little more restriction.
Definitely. That would suck.
Yeah, right.
Not be
6%. Come on now.
And we've been people are still angry about the 14%. Even if they bumped it up another percentage, we get so many more interesting beers that we don't get here.
Yeah.
And again, you can go to a liquor store and buy something that's 80% alcohol and drink that. Who cares? Beer and beer is so expensive. The argument that kid's gonna get this because it's a beer and it's in a bottle or a can. I'm like, yeah, but it's like $30. You think a kid's gonna get that?
Exactly.
I don't think so. That's just dumb. So
anyway, he's gonna choose. He'll go get the Quality House vodka for $5 a fifth. That's what he's gonna get.
Say, or what was it, Mr. Boston?
Boston. Just one of those things. The cheapest plastic bottle full of the most alcohol he possibly can find, and probably some. I don't know if they still do
Loco.
it. Yeah, five Loco.
Or even worse.
Get the frozen juice concentrate or whatever we used to get and mix it all together and make you some jungle juice.
Everclear, man.
Yeah,
jungle juice. Yeah.
Everclear. You know what? I use that for cleaning and sanitation now. Once I realized that was a good cleaning agent or sanitizer, I took a taste off of it. It's like, you know what? I don't know if I've ever tasted straight. Oh my God, that's terrible. Let me just tell you, it's terrible.
What? Now there's two different proofs they do on Everclear, and I think one is like, it's legit like 99% ethanol, right?
I think.
Do you guys know? Isn't like proud Everclears?
In a pinch, because I'm in the diagnostic molecular industry, in a pinch where we can't get what we need, we're like, just go to the grocery store and get some Everclear. Don't use it for the molecular test because it's not molecular grade, but you can use it for cleaning.
Well, that was one of the things when the pandemic set on and sanitizer was gone everywhere. But one of the issues is people were taking like 80 proof vodka and cutting it. Whatever it was, it didn't make sanitizer level. So
it has to be more than 40, or is it 60% alcohol for it to count to be an effective at killing all the bugs, basically.
The bugs.
The buggy boos.
But in the proper amounts, you won't even notice that Everclear is as strong as it is when you put it in your Kool-Aid and your fruit punch. So
exactly. True.
You just right.
You got to cut it down a bit.
What do you guys call the trash can punch, the hunch punch up there? What is that in your neck of the woods?
There's Jake. There's a Spodie is one where you like just mix in a bunch of fruit and stuff in a bucket. That was always called Spodie.
Okay.
And Screwdriver is just the classic orange juice vodka.
Yeah.
The stuff we used to do, you got a cooler and you grabbed handles of a bunch of different things and a bunch of different juices. You dumped it all in together and got something like Sprite or whatever to get a little bubbliness, and got a ladle and started serving it at parties.
When I was in my younger 20s, my first place living on my own, me and two buddies got a small condo. And of course, being the first ones to get our own place, we were the party place. That's where you came to party. So we didn't invent it because it's basically trash can punch, but we call it a bucket of gack, G-A-C-K.
Bucket of gack.
And the rule was we'd started off with like, say, a 50-50 mix of Kool-Aid, Sprite, juice, whatever, and alcohol. Then when you came into the party, you could get a solo cup full of gack, but you had to return some sort of alcohol into the vessel.
It gets stronger as the night goes on.
Well, it may be wine coolers. It may be Bud Light. It may be a fifth of Night Train. So there was no telling what would end up at the end of the night, but we always had a good time with it.
That's like the dump Stein at the end of the Oktoberfest tasting.
Yeah.
All of the
which a cuvee of a bunch of good Oktoberfest is not a bad beer.
It's actually not too bad. Yeah. It's not what you would expect, but it's not terrible.
After we have the spit and everything else added in there?
It's not. We weren't spitting that much. Do all of our spitting into the mic so we don't spit into our beer.
Good stuff. All right, Nate, let's get back to some radio.
The Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Get them all coming.
Now, back to The Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to The Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, KFAR 660 AM and 97.5 FM in Fairbanks, Alaska. Catch Beer Guys Radio on KFAR every Saturday at 12 a.m. That's midnight. Now let's get back to Devil's Club Brewing Company.
Devil's Club Brewing. Guys, we want to talk to you just a little about just your beer scene there and see what is up. So Devil's Club Brewing, how many breweries do you have there in your area?
There's 4.
4. Okay.
4.
Gotcha.
And you've probably heard of one of them called Alaskan Brewing Company.
Yes. Yeah, that is one we have heard of. Yep. So how is the scene there? I imagine you got 4 breweries in that. I know I just saw a note, Brian, from your research. You said the population is 30,000, but you have a big tourist season, right? Where it spikes up a lot. How does that work for your brewery?
It's critical for business. We have a huge tourism boom in the summer. We are a port town, and the cruise ships that travel up through Alaska, it's like a really popular cruise route. Every single cruise ship stops in Juneau. And so, but in the 3 months of the summer, we have over 1.25 million people coming off the cruise ships into Juneau in our little 30,000 person town. Wow. And we get a small fraction of those in the brewery, but it's a big amount of people.
Big hit. Yeah. So as a business owner, that's a good thing. As a resident, what do you think of that?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody in town's a little split on it. I'm a bit of a centrist on the topic. I don't mind one way or another too much. It's kind of nice in the summer to have more people around. And you know, the area is remote and easy to get away from. So if you don't want to see the tourists, it's really, really easy to never see one if you don't.
Okay. All right. That's fair. You know, I saw an interesting question. I'm sorry, Jake, go ahead.
It's a great opportunity for the city to prosper and get good money and do great things for the community and just keep on plugging away at life.
Yeah. And it's a good opportunity for businesses like us to try things out on a much larger population than we would normally get to, you know. So if we release a beer in the winter, it might last, months, but if we release it in the summer, it's probably only going to last a week and a half, and then we can start ripping through them and trying more stuff.
So that might answer my question. I was going to say, do you tailor some of your recipes specifically for the tourists coming in? But it sounds like yes, potentially.
Yeah, that's a good question. What I've noticed is that people are willing to come in and they get the sampler and they're willing to try anything once, whether they like it or not. Who knows? They won't always like it, but we can take some big swings on beers and learn a lot along the way, and it'll eventually sell. Usually, really quickly. That's why we make so many different flavors. We have a very small brew system.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's good when you have a lot of people coming in to move stuff around. I was just thinking the beer would last. So the tap room is got to be fairly sparse the rest of the year. I mean, is it just jam packed during May to September and then just kind of sparsely packed or sparsely attended?
We're fortunate enough to be the locals still love us. And so we actually, the time that it is the sparsest is right at the beginning of the cruise ship season when the people who want to avoid the cruise ships are not coming downtown.
Okay.
But the full breadth of the tourism hasn't gotten there yet. So the locals leave the tap room and the tourists haven't quite come in yet. And there's this lull season in the spring right between. And so in the winter, around the holidays and throughout the rest of the year, we're just packed with locals as well. They love coming out. But in the summer, it flips the crowd.
Okay. Now, guys, if you've listened to our show, one of the things we're famous for is free advice of terrible ideas.
Yes.
Love it.
So I just had the thought you should brew a special beer for that in-between time and call it shift change. And make it a really special beer to encourage people to come in and get it that way during that little lull there.
A super high gravity one that'll appeal to
a big warm barley wine. Because if it's early, just before they start coming in, it's probably still cool enough to really enjoy your barley wine. Shift change.
I was just thinking, it's like, there's air conditioning when it gets too warm. I'm like, we've learned that there isn't. So maybe stouts aren't for summer in Alaska.
Maybe
not.
Year round.
Yeah.
Stouts are loved.
I'm curious what kind of dumb things that tourists always do, like everybody does, and it's very cringeworthy. Because I'm sure there has to be when you've got a 1.5 million people or 1.24 million or whatever it was coming in every year.
There's a lot of classics. One of them is whether we use the U.S. dollar.
Of course, yeah. Okay.
They come in on a cruise ship, and the most classic one is what is the elevation here in Juneau, which is 0.
I'm going to be honest, guys. That took me a quarter of a second for that auto register.
I paused mentally for a second.
Yeah.
I'm like,
wait. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Okay. All right.
Unless there's a really steep incline right off the beach or something like that.
There is, though. The mountains go up. We're like, if you look up pictures of Juneau, the mountains just shoot straight out of the water. It's like Norway fjords. It's a stunning place.
What's the elevation here? You're like right here?
Right here or over there?
30 feet at the tap room about?
Yeah,
30
exactly.
feet. Oh, that's fantastic.
So here's, interestingly enough, I saw this question on Reddit the other day. It asked for people who live in tourist towns, what is the worst thing that tourists do habitually?
It's a great question. I would say walking around without looking at where they're going is the most annoying. Because when you're driving through town and somebody's just walking around not directionally, you just don't know if they're about to walk onto that crosswalk or not. There's no intent that you can judge, and so you're always riding your brakes downtown because you never know if they're just going to step off the sidewalk while their heads are craning all around looking at stuff.
Hit another tourist, man.
That's New Orleans. I hate driving in New Orleans.
That was actually one I saw a few times. Evan mentioned was New York City. It was a big one. It's like, we're living here. You've got to remember people live here. This isn't New York being on the sidewalks and looking around at all the buildings, just blocking everybody trying to get on with their lives there. And the same thing, wandering around aimlessly like they don't realize all this stuff. Like they think they're in an amusement park, Brian.
That's right. I think I saw that same thing where people would walk like 4 or 5 abreast on the sidewalk slowly in New York, and that's enough to drive anybody insane. That actually got my heart rate up just reading about that. I'm like,
get you all stressed out.
Exactly.
Huh? Yes.
Exactly.
So I know you mentioned berries, and I did see, some videos of gathering and brewing the beers there. What's the craziest thing you've ever done in your brew house?
Craziest. PG version. Okay.
PG version. Yeah. Talking about beer, not you personally, Jake. That's our other show.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how crazy it is, and it's just on my mind because we're getting ready to bottle it. But we found an inspiration to brew a beer with some hay. And with that hay and malt and whatnot, we naturally inoculated the wort with old man's beard. It's a lichen that grows on trees here. And that was just open fermented in an open top puncheon. And some people might think that's crazy, but it's kind of just a romantic way of brewing, at least for here, because we don't have a lot of ingredients that you can brew with raw here. So we can use yeast and some berries and stuff like that.
That's cool. Okay. Do you guys get our spruce in your area? So you do a spruce? Do you do a spruce tip beer?
Yep, it's like I think it's a legal requirement in Alaska to brew a spruce tip.
Okay, I can see that. Gotcha. Yeah.
No, everybody does one. We Jake does a great one called Mumbo Jumbo, which is a sour spruce tip saison. We had also previously have done Spruce Springsteen, which was a blonde for the 4th of July. They're such a cool ingredient because as long as you know what to expect, because a lot of people want it to be pine, but they don't taste like pine. They taste like raspberry. They're quite fruity in their palate.
Gotcha.
It's a really cool ingredient. Yeah.
You know what? I will be honest. I don't know that I've ever had a fresh spruce beer. So because I don't know that I've ever detected the raspberry tones, we're probably getting them. The beers they're doing mass production and distributing, they're probably thrown in with a bunch of piney hops in that because people are expecting the pine. So I don't know that we've ever truly experienced this spruce tip.
I don't think so either. I think all of the stuff has been kind of on the more piney side, and I'm like, well, it may be tips, but they're not. Maybe they weren't the young tips, like the.
Well, I guess we got to send a package.
Do it, man.
I would be
Gonna
more
have to.
intrigued to
See?
drink this. Yeah,
Yeah.
try it. Yeah.
We'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Y'all, we need to take a break. You're listening to the Beer Guys radio show. We will be right back with more from Devil's Club Brewing Company. You know, Evan, talking about that with the spruce tips and the flavors you get from the fresh ones there, I've heard a lot of people talking about, like with Belgian beers, that even at the absolute fastest speed of getting them across the Atlantic, we never get them in their freshest intended state. So when we're tasting any of these true Belgian beers and thinking, oh, this is phenomenal, and brewers here are trying to recreate those, they're probably, unless they've been to Belgium and explored on their own, recreating to something that's not at its freshest. So
go ahead. I think there's definitely some truth to that, but they also, I think one thing that we learned in Belgium that is not a focus of U.S. breweries so much is that the brewers there are really, really focused on shelf stability. They are absolutely
okay.
It is a tenet of all of the beers that they brew, and it's because they don't have refrigeration in Europe. So breweries don't have cold rooms. They don't have anywhere to store cold stuff, so their product has to be really stable. And so I think that I'm sure it's true if once you get across the ocean, but inside Europe, they're actually like the Belgians brew specifically aiming at like, we want this to be very, very stable because they just don't have refrigeration. Even
interesting.
Bars don't have cold rooms for beer. They cool in line to the tap, and the kegs just sit warm.
Madness.
It's crazy.
And here in the States, some beers are brewed like, look, do not hold this in your hand if it's over 85 degrees. Yeah.
I saw just meme the other day where the inside of somebody's car was just thrashed because they sat down a 4-pack of some fruity smoothie and just exploded.
That's why I wanted to bring that meeting, because I was worried it was going to explode in my house or something.
If it's going to blow up, we'll let it blow up on those guys. I don't want it blowing up in my house.
I would really.
You've dealt with enough at home, Smalls. You don't need an exploding meat as well.
Yeah, keep it away from your backyard. Or
you know what? Maybe that's what I need was an explosion in the house, because insurance would have covered that.
They would have covered that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a flash flood at Smalls's house, and everybody put blame on everyone else. So it was not.
I had a huge
and it like seriously like ripped her backyard out. So it was bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hang on. It was raining today. Did you get stressed out when you saw the rain?
I did, and I was like, screw it. I have whiskey and beer at the studio. I can't deal with it today.
There we go.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah. So all this talk about not how unfresh we wind up really getting our Belgians, it makes me really wonder, is it Ashoof that does a hopped? Was it a hopped golden or something?
They do
hop goblin.
Houblon Schoof.
Houblon Schoof. That's the one. And I really like that when it first comes out. But I'm like, I wonder how much better it would be if you had it there fresh.
Well,
and it does sit on the shelf for a long time. It's
still not great. They're
I have
not
some
good
now?
at hops.
You good?
Though.
All right,
That's
thanks,
the
man.
thing.
They're not good at hops.
They're not good at hops because they don't have refrigeration.
Yeah,
the hops are so fragile, and so even those hopped beers that they're making that are Belgian styles, if you taste them, you're always kind of like, tastes like old hops. They always taste like old hops.
Now it's been a few years, like a lot of years, but when I first had that, I was really enamored with that one. But that's pre like hazy IPA. That's pre super in your face tropical notes IPA. I think that's back when you could expect. Oh, okay. It's back when you could expect. Some old age to your hops, and it was not unusual.
Aginess.
Yeah, now it's like if you didn't get it like the day it was canned or bottled at the brewery, it's just off.
You know, Evan, talking about barley wines, I kind of like when if they're cellared properly and you get that old taste in there, in a good way. That's an explanation I still love to share. Nancy Palmer, who used to be the director of our Georgia Craft Brewers Guild, she's now on the committee for the BA, like the legal committee for the BA. But she said one time we were drinking a 20-year-old winter ale.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
To celebrate some changes in the beer laws here, we had a winter ale from a brewery that had gone out of business. We sell it, we pop that, and she said it tastes like an old library in the best possible way. And I'm like, I get that. I see exactly what you're talking about there. And I love finding that flavor in a beer.
Last week when we were talking, when we opened up the 12th Labor with Orpheus, that I, very much like old leather, old bound books, a little bit of must. There was a little bit of oxidation, but also sherry, something I really enjoy that in a well-aged stout. When it holds up well, I've had some stouts that surprisingly did poorly. I'm like, you're a stout. You should do better than this. You should know better than to age like this.
Bad stout.
I lecture,
bad stout.
yes.
Bad stout. How dare you?
I'm angry at you, stout, for not doing better than this. You should know how. Yeah. You're a stout.
My favorite thing is how salty Jason is still over Peter Tilquin's feedback on his. Have you guys, either of you guys, heard of Orpheus Brewing here in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Okay, so last week we had the founder, brewmaster Jason Pallett. He's a buddy. He just came in to kind of randomly BS with us about stuff, but he does a lot of like open fermentation, method traditional beers and such. And he happened to be over in Belgium and let Peter Tilquin try one of his. And he said he immediately like scrunched his face. He's like, unbalanced, too much fruit.
Too much fruit, unbalanced, yeah.
And so
they're all about balance, yeah.
Yeah, so now, but I personally thought it was phenomenal.
It up every time we talk to him, too.
It was an Oud
He's
Creek,
very salty
right?
about it.
Yeah.
He is. Oud Creek, but he loves to share that beer and tell the story of Peter Tilquin giving him negative feedback on it.
Great.
So.
Here, you just open the
little embrace the funk.
Oh, hey, we've got this unlabeled green bottle over here. We could get into that too.
Yeah, put that back for now. We still got some. Let's get the unlabeled one. Do you know what that is, Smalls?
I did at the time, but I was many beers deep.
Well, let's get into this mystery beer.
so
let's do it.
Figure it out.
So
Monday Night Brewing just announced opening a Charlotte tap room, which will be their fifth.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this has been released.
And then spontaneous, interesting things. And Green Bottle says to me, possibly Brett or something
else.
What's
that? Sure you can. Here you go. No mic. Nate has a question, so he gets to borrow the mic.
Hey, quick question for you guys. Do you guys ever mess around with Cool Ship or something akin to a Cool Ship?
We don't have a Cool Ship, but we have an open top puncheon that we use for open fermentation, but we'll also we have used it to act as a Cool Ship before.
Yeah, and a puncheon, guys, for the listeners that might not know, is a big barrel. So it's like 4 times the size of a typical barrel, and then Jake flipped it on its side, put it on some casting rollers, and took the end off. And so we've got like a movable, basically 126-gallon fermenter that just rolls around the brewery.
That's pretty awesome. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So are you fairly ideal temperatures all the time for kind of an open or spontaneous fermentation, or is it really? I guess there's.
Do we want to save this?
Oh, we probably should
for the show.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah, we know. I was like, we try and ask some little questions during the breaks, but I'm like, this is good content. We can talk about that in the show. So, guys, going into the last segment, anything we haven't mentioned you want us to make sure to capture?
That is a good question about the open fermentation. Jake's got some good stories about learning about our yeast strain that we harvested.
All right, that sounds awesome to me.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Let's see.
We'll make sure to, we want to just throw out some of your beers. I don't think we mentioned any specific beers, so we'll talk about those a little bit. So, 4th segment is going to be open fermentation, wild cultures, and little beer. See you, Jake. Jake's like, I don't want to talk about this.
It's like,
I'm done.
This is his
I'm
passion.
done.
He loves this.
The ghost in the bathroom got
Thanks,
him.
Jake. Yeah, that 100-year-old bathroom ghost.
Oh yeah,
there
they
is
finally got him.
the employees do think that there are ghosts in our building. It was originally built as a theater way back in the day, and it's that there's clanks and crashes in the morning sometimes.
Turns out it's always just Jake.
Spooky.
Yeah.
It's just Jake.
It's Jake in the bathroom.
Jake in the bathroom. Hey, another beer name.
I was gonna say it almost sounds like a morning zoo show. Jake in the bathroom. You know, the random animals. Jake in the bathroom.
We'll give Jake a moment.
We can.
I don't believe he was that sick of us. Not yet.
No.
Well, I mean, if he was in the bathroom. So
that's right.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
I need a minute, folks. Yeah.
Jake in the bathroom in the morning drive.
In the morning drive.
Good morning, Juno.
Jake in the abandoned bathroom.
Oh, you'd have to have a flush sound. This is Jake in the bathroom, and then
all the people when he hangs up to him, you're getting flushed. You just flush it every time you hang up. It's a
flush it or brush it. You know, that could be his. Or he doesn't realize we're plotting out an entire morning show for him right now. So
I think he's coming back. I think he's on his way.
All right.
And welcome back to the Jake in the Bathroom show.
This is morning.
This is your morning drive. Next segment's gonna be flush it or brush it. Jake, you missed it, but we planned out an entire morning show for you while you were going there. So you're ready to go there. You'll
have to catch the live stream later and you'll see exactly what we were talking about.
Good stuff. Awesome. Nate, I think we're ready. Let's do this.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. Patrons get cool perks like Beer Guy swag and commercial-free episodes. Now let's get back to Devil's Club Brewing Company.
Guys, you know what? Something that we meant to ask earlier, we talked about what your logo is not, but the Devil's Club, is that a plant? Is that correct?
It is, yeah. It's a local plant. It's in it's pretty widespread in the Northwest in general, but it's basically just a really badass plant. And it's a cool plant.
It is, and yes.
We wanted to name our brewery after it. It grows on these large sticks that are absolutely covered in thorns, the stems of the plant, and then it grows these huge, like maple leaf sized leaves that look like our logo, also covered in thorns. And it's in Alaska, everybody lives pretty outdoors lifestyle, and so it's the one plant that everyone knows, because when you run into it, you're fully aware.
Okay.
I got you. That was one of my questions. Like, how often do you have to explain this? Because I'd never heard of this weed, but if I'd been stuck by it multiple times when I was outside, I'd know exactly what it was.
Right. So here in the South, ours would be kudzu. Yeah. So kudzu. And it just grows. If you have,
that's a good name for a brewery.
I was just thinking. I think there is. I know think there's kudzu beer. I think there's a kudzu brewing, right?
I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe. Somebody's at least had to have brewed with kudzu.
Well, I know there's beers named kudzu.
No, I think there was someone that I asked if they brewed with kudzu, and basically they asked me if I was stupid.
Well, you can cook with it. I've heard like Alton Brown has cooked with it.
I had no idea. Yeah. But so the story of kudzu is apparently I think they introduced it for deforestation or something.
Yeah.
Or like soil erosion. Like to cover up.
And it took over.
And it took over. So they introduced rabbits in the hope they would eat it all, but they did eat it, which helped them to make a boatload more rabbits. So now both kudzu and rabbits are all over the place.
You guys try wolves.
We should do that next.
Next thing you know, we're going to
grizzly bears.
Coyotes. We got
wolves, grizzlies. Yeah. We just keep going up the chain.
That's right.
It's going to be a good time.
I mean, this is working out so well. Let's just keep going.
What's the next predator on the list? We're releasing great white sharks into the kudzu.
Exactly. Sharknadoes.
Yes.
I was going to ask, because I think it might technically be possible. Can you brew a beer with this Devil's Club? And have you tried it?
You could. It's an interesting flavor. It is a traditionally medicinal plant for the native peoples in Southeast Alaska, the Tlingit and Haida. And so the flavor is, it's kind of like ginsengy, or almost it's got like a fresh minty almost sort of flavor. We've never brewed with it out of respect for those groups of people, because the community asked us to please don't make alcohol with it, because
okay, cool.
So
all right,
like, cool, we won't.
That's respect,
okay,
man.
Fair enough.
Gotta appreciate that.
I said, don't take our medicine and turn it into your horrible firewall. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
That was it. Was what was the beer? Something Gandhi, I think, that they had. And anyhow, I know the graphic was
Gandhi bot. I think
Gandhi bot.
Yeah.
Yes, but similar situation there. They're like, hey, could you not do that? And they did change it.
Well, it's like, to a lesser degree, and it sounds more trivial bringing it up now, but founder CBS, the Mounties said,
Mounties, that's right.
Hey, y'all, can you stop putting us on your beer? I mean, we really don't need to be associated with beer.
Did they really say y'all?
I think they probably did. Y'all, eh?
Yeah. And when we talked to Jeremy Kosmicki about it, he said, I told him I was sorry. So, yes.
It's still one of the finest moments on the show.
It was good stuff. Jake, we want to talk to you about wild, spontaneous, open fermentations. And you had mentioned a little bit on break about gathering some cultures. Can you tell us a little bit about brewing that way?
Yeah, usually we will do like a primary fermentation with the yeast we would like to use. So, for example, like a Saison yeast. And then in a secondary fermentation, we'll add some fruit with fresh picked berries, blueberries, for example, and do a secondary with that. And then we'll reuse that culture for a second, third, fourth generation. And we've sent it out to a yeast company before, and they've been able to specifically pick out which yeast and wild yeast are in there and then replicate that for us.
So do you have like a house strain now, or like house cultures basically then?
Yeah, that's banked with our yeast supplier, and we can order it whenever we would like to. It's hard to keep it on hand and fresh and healthy year round.
And it was cool. Big learning curve, and it was a lot of fun to experiment with. And the because it's just whatever was living on the outside of those blueberries originally that grew inside the beer. And since we live in Southeast Alaska, we figured out pretty quickly that when we thought the first batch was terminal, and put it in the cold room, it turns out the yeast in Southeast Alaska is perfectly happy at about 40 degrees.
Okay, gotcha.
And it kept going. So that first batch got way more attenuated than we expected, and so we've learned how to treat that little bug, and we've got a good relationship now.
The lagered sour, I mean, I'm curious what letting it continue to condition at a very cold temperature would do.
Yeah, I don't know that wild cultures like that typically behave that well. Not at those low temps,
typically, right? That I'm familiar with.
In the fall, it can be anywhere from 70 degrees in the hottest part of the day, and at night it can be in the mid 30s. So it's living on blueberries and just thriving. And so when we put that in the beer, it get introduced to new unbroken down sugars that it could ferment on. So it gobbled those up. It just took a little bit longer.
That's funny that like those cultures are coming off the skin of a blueberry, thrown in that sugar. They're like, do what now?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're going to give us 45 degrees?
I am going to eat and eat and eat. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's like their Voodoo Ranger theme park.
The theme park.
Right there. They're just waiting to be thrown into the theme park there.
They got to throw before they go into hibernation mode.
See?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Live your best life.
Exactly.
Blueberry yeast.
So is it ideal year round for the collection of wild yeast? I know that we've talked to some people on the show that said there really isn't a time range or a temperature range so much, but I know traditionally people like certain times of the year to collect the wild bugs.
We usually do it in the fall. So September or like August, September, October. If we do it in the summertime, it tends to be a little unbalanced with the with like the natural funk. It ferments really quick and is a little like skunky, kind of weird breadiness.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So there we go. There's the answer.
Finicky yeast.
It depends. Yeah.
What's that, Evan?
I say it depends. Yeah, definitely based on because where you are and what bugs you have, it's just going to be depending on the time of year. Because we've noticed in the spring, like right as those berries are like late spring, early when they're like about to burst, there's so much stuff on those berries because those bugs are just having the time of their life all over, just in the sun, just chewing through those berry skins. That we think probably just so many that you just get a really high inoculation rate and it just whips through and it doesn't get as nice of a flavor.
Those juicy, sugary fruits with all that food there for them, man.
Yeah, they're just going to town.
They're just tearing it up. Yeah.
It's a buffet for bugs. Yes.
Right. Well, guys, we haven't really talked. We've kind of talked about the beer scene and everything there, but your lineup there, what are some of your core beers? What are your most popular beers?
Our most popular beer is Signature IPA, which is our signature IPA. And we also always brew a milk stout year round called Silt Milk Stout, which is named after the glacial silt that runs off the glaciers here. So it's like thick and creamy. And then we do a Belgian blonde year round as well, because we wanted to do something that would be available year round that was lighter for people, but not a boring blonde ale. So we did a Belgian blonde ale.
Okay.
And then we, since opening 4 years ago and some, we do lots and lots of hazies now and lots of fruited sours. And we kind of rifle through those with different fruits and different hops, kind of constantly releasing new flavors in those styles.
Do those play well? I know that you talked about how much the barley wine is appreciated in higher gravity. The fruited sours, which don't tend to be very high in the ABVs and the hazy IPAs, do those play well with the locals up there?
Well, most of our fruited sours are like 8%, so they play well with the locals.
Okay, so your fruited sours.
There you go.
Okay, so they're a little higher than a lot of our.
Very, very well there, man. Good stuff.
They bring their own little shot, their little airplane bottles to dump in it. Just like, I need to bring it up a little bit.
Spike it up a little bit. Spike it up a little bit. Guys, what is next for Devil's Club Brewing? What's being brewed, or what do you want to brew?
We've actually we've been working on seltzer, and we've been working on it for quite a while. And so we're hoping to release that pretty soon. Actually, this is the scoop. This is the announcement, I guess.
Ooh, good. There you go. This is the part.
And so yeah, we're pretty stoked on that. Real fruit, hard seltzer, really drinkable, real summertime snack that Jake's been perfecting for quite a while, and
good
we're
stuff.
Excited to release. Yeah.
That's awesome. We just lost Jake's connection, so he doesn't get to talk about it, but we thank him for joining us when he could there. Evan, thank you as well. If folks want to learn more about Devil's Club Brewing Company, what is the best way to do that?
Well, these days, honestly, Instagram is probably the best way. So at Devil's Club Beer. But our website has a lot of fun stuff. Like you guys mentioned, we like to have a lot of fun and goof around. So we have some pretty fun videos on there for people to check out. But the best way is to come up to Juneau, Alaska, and try
take a trip. Get on one of those cruise ships.
Get on a cruise ship.
Yeah, good stuff.
Or
Evan, thank you so much.
Anchorage.
Or drive, exactly. Thanks, Evan. We appreciate you and Jake joining us.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Make sure to join us next week when we will be talking to Great Lakes Brewing Company. For more craft beer info, follow us online. We are Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have a great week. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers. The brain has not been at top speed today. I will say that. So.
It's not been one of my higher functioning brain days as well.
It happens.
It is fun seeing you just completely spaced.
Just lock.
Like, where am I again?
The last portion of it.
Yesterday at the day job, an account manager, he was just being a pain in the butt over email. And my last reply to him was, thank you so much for that valuable information. I'll make sure to keep that in mind for future reference. And so I got and he had copied like 10 people in the email. So I replied all when I said that.
Oh, jeez.
And so I was having a meeting with someone today, and they're like, did you just call me for some valuable information? I was like, that's it. I need all and after we finished our call, I messaged her like, oh my God, that just hit me. She's like, I didn't know if you caught what I was saying there or not. So the whole day has been a day of
thank you very much
of
for
slowness.
Yeah.
I'm saving that one.
Oh, wow. Good stuff. I think Jake's like, you know what? We're almost done here. I'm not even going to muck with it.
He texted me. He said, computer is toast. Screen is all black.
Oh boy.
No.
Oh, we killed his computer. Tell him we thank him for his sacrifice.
I will.
That was
we
very nice
hope he
of
makes
him.
it out of the bathroom. We really
Yes. Yeah. It's the ghost in there. Get out. Get out. We're going to burn your computer
it's like
up.
you're mine now.
Yeah. Well, he made it through to right at the close, so it survived as long as it needed to there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's pretty good timing, really. If it's got to crap out at some point, it might as well be at the end.
That's going to be a horror movie.
It will.
A haunted bathroom in Juneau, Alaska.
They didn't like his radio show idea, his morning show. They weren't having it. Hang for just a second. I'm going to wrap up here with the live stream. Folks, thank you for tuning in, hanging with us, asking questions, and sharing your input. We'll be back next week, as we mentioned, with Great Lakes Brewing. So make sure to come hang with us again. Cheers.